you got to be willing to put the hours in, especially if you're doing it yourself. One is I don't want a job. Don't think about hiring me. Don't think about wanting to hire me for anything, because I don't want a job. I just want to freelance and contract work. Our headwear company, even though there was 5 of us and we were kicking butt, the recession, we would have survived the recession, but we made a bad decision, and there was not one person to blame on it. And I think it was a team bad decision that we worked with Goodies, and we did like a $1.3 million deal. Hey guys, this is my first short. I'm Matt from Hometown Inspiration, wife and husband team. We make wood and leather goods. This is one of my wood mosaics that I make for our company. This is just the background. I'm going to start adding all these, I call them color wood chips that I make. I laser cut them, bevel each edge, paint them, and now I'm starting to put them down on the board. I pre-illustrated a design in the computer, programmed it in the laser machine, and now I'm taking extra strength Gorilla Glue, and I'm going to start gluing everything down. And hopefully by the end of the night, the end of all my short little videos, I'll have this complete. I think it's probably, just to glue these down, it's probably 2-3 hour process. So hopefully this will get enough short little videos. Hopefully everybody will be interested in it. Hopefully people will find my voice relaxing and put them to sleep, since it is late at night and this is when I'm going to be doing stuff. Typically I work during the day with apparel brands and things like that I illustrate for brands, and I illustrate like rock posters, t-shirts. Here's a t-shirt I designed for myself because I come up with silly ideas. So keep on reaping, baby. And we sell our t-shirts online. We sell our wood and leather online, and yeah, we're rocking. But this is one of my larger pieces. This is I call it a wood mosaic. Since I am such a digital illustrator, I've been doing computer illustration and design for 30 plus years, working with many brands. You'll hear me say that a few times. I apologize. But anyways, seeing that I am such a digital illustrator and everything, I'm trying to come up with concepts and creativity besides painting. Everybody paints. Everybody paints. I wanted to come up with something different. I always like coming up with different ideas. That's why I was always valuable in product development and apparel, things like that, because I like to do things that people haven't seen before. And it's worked. It's brought my career in the apparel business to a good level. I'm working with all kinds of brands. Probably the most well-established current brand right now is Hook Performance Fishing, but I haven't been there. I was there for the first 6 years, and I haven't been there for probably 6 years. Yeah. Because we started Hometown Inspiration. This is in its 6th year, and I started Hometown Inspiration, our family brand, when I stopped working with that brand full time after it got fully developed. Yeah. But, oh man, where's this piece go? There it is. But this is a fun part of the process when I start actually gluing everything down. It's kind of like, if you like puzzle pieces and stuff like that, it's kind of like a game. Just figuring out where it goes, how it goes. Yeah. And make sure we get enough glue down. I'm a hands-on guy. Sorry for my mess. That's why I work in my art studio by myself. My wife, Rachel, she works up. She has her office in the house where she has her sewing machine, and it's really nice and clean and organized up there. Down here in the grind, in the ditch, in the trenches, it's mess equals money. So it's always a mess, and I apologize, but I'm sorry, not sorry. You know what I mean? Yeah. But back to, I guess, a little bit of my story. I've been illustrating for brands and product development and merchandising for brands for 30 plus years. Like I said, I started in my early 20s. I'm 55 now. And like the first the first group I ever started illustrating for, I don't know if anybody remembers, back in the 80s, back when those big parachute pants and the really skinny, what are they? Tank tops, spaghetti tank tops. I guess that's what they're called, spaghetti tank tops, with the big muscle steroid guys with the perms and all that. That was a thing. That was the thing to do. Well, there was, oddly enough, 2 brands in my hometown, which is Tallahassee, that were doing very well in the apparel industry, selling these clothing items for muscle bodybuilder types. And I just got lucky enough to start right out the gate illustrating for one of those brands. It's called Baggy Boys. And I still have some of the posters and stuff like that. It's a trip. It's fun to watch how fashion goes in and out of style. Although I haven't seen that back in style yet. But then I moved on. Actually, I found that I had to move to Atlanta to really start a career. And I think that was a great decision because, like, honestly, it was so. I look for shiny objects. So in life, I believe in looking for the shiny objects. I'll say that a few times too, probably. But it's just like, just pay attention, look around, pay attention. Especially when you're looking for that direction, God has a plan, and the shiny objects are pretty much that guide. If you're paying attention, if you're not too overwhelmed or too consumed within yourself and what's going on. But my shiny object moment was like the second week I was in Atlanta. I was in a bar. I was young, so I seem to be in a bar a lot, but I don't do that anymore, thank God. But I was in a bar, and the Atlanta Falcons were going to go to the Super Bowl for the very first time, and they were called the Dirty Birds. And I was in a bar, and I was sitting there talking to some guy about how I'm trying to be an artist up here in Atlanta, and I just moved up here, la 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 la. And the next thing I know is this guy was the equipment manager for the Dirty Birds, for the Atlanta Falcon Dirty Birds that were going to go to the Super Bowl, and they needed a logo. And this was at the bar. This was just a chance meeting. So within like 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes, only 10 minutes, I whipped up a logo because he was wanting a logo for headwear. And I whipped up a logo on a bar napkin. And so like within 10 minutes, I had the job. He loved the idea. He loved the concept. We agreed on a payment, and we agreed on him giving me 3 hats with the logo on it with the entire team's signatures. And that was my shiny object moment that I was in the right place to be in Atlanta. So yeah, where does this go? Actually, you know what? Behind me in my mess, as soon as I figure out where this one goes, I'll show you one of the hats with all the signatures. Oh, there we go. I'm going to show you the hat. Yep. And I put this here. It's a little dusty. Let's see that. Little dusty. And you see the ring. See the light I'm using. Yep. It doesn't get shown much. But hey, hopefully you like this short. If you like this short, come back and see another short. Hey, this is Matt again, continuing my wood mosaic piece and continuing to talk about how my career got kicked off. I left off with the shiny object, doing the dirty bird of being in the right place, knowing I was in the right place when I moved to Atlanta for the first time. And within 2 weeks, I was designing the Atlanta Falcon Dirty Bird Super Bowl logo for the team. I'll just show you. Here's the team, all the signatures. That was the logo. And drew it. Took me 10 minutes, drew it on a bar napkin, and the guy loved it. So, yeah. So that's when I knew Atlanta was my place, my kind of place to be an artist, to develop my career as an artist, my 30-plus year career. I stayed there for about 8 years. Loved it. Loved every minute of it. But the reality was my career, let's see, what was I doing up there? I was designing for Mellow Mushroom. I was designing for Hooters. I was doing NHRA, National Hot Rod Association. I was doing a lot of T-shirt art for them. And Mellow Mushroom and Hooters, it was all T-shirt art. I was doing t-shirt art, t-shirt illustrations, do stuff like that. And then I worked my way up to a company called D-Lab where we did retro humor stuff. It was kind of down and dirty, just silly retro cartoons and humor, but it was paying the bills. And then I was also, while I was doing that, I was building a high-end brand called Project Red. I have it right here. It was really cool. Like here, that's the covers that we made. It was really cool stuff because I used to travel to like Amsterdam and London and Paris just to look at fashion. Hey, look at me. I'm sitting there doing fashion stuff, $300 shirts. Yeah. But it was fun. This t-shirt series. My kids are wearing these shirts now. These shirts are like 2006. So these shirts are like 19 years old. The collection, my teenage boys are wearing them now because I have them in my closet. Yeah, it's a trip. But yeah, so Atlanta was fun. And it got to the point because then I started merchandising headwear seriously, big time, to where I was working with a company. We had 80%. There's 5 of us. It's called All Star Apparel. We had like 80% of the college market in headwear. We had the Jack Daniels license. We had a few other licenses, but we were booming. We were doing good. And I was having to travel overseas, working with factories overseas every other month, and I'd be gone for 3 weeks. So the career was booming. My wife and I started having children. We have a total of 3 boys, but we had 2 of them up in Atlanta. And with me out of town all the time, it was like, okay, we don't need to be in Atlanta anymore. We need to be closer to family. So the wife has support while I'm running around the world, developing apparel products, and helping expedite manufacturing lines and stuff like that. So we moved back to Tallahassee. And pretty much when we moved back to Tallahassee, 2008 happened. 2008 was not a great time. We went into recession, and it was pretty amazing because I've always learned not to have all your eggs in one basket, and I'll always still, for the most part, not have all my eggs in one basket. And even though I didn't have all my eggs in one basket, 2008 recession crushed pretty much every basket I had eggs in. And I had to totally reinvent myself and rework myself. Our headwear company, even though there was 5 of us and we were kicking butt, the recession, we would have survived the recession, but we made a bad decision, and there was not one person to blame on it. And I think it was a team bad decision that we worked with Goodies, and we did like a $1.3 million deal with Goodies in fleece, which we never did fleece before, which was hoodies and sweatshirts. And they were a killer program, and it was going to rock. But we had no clue that Goodies was about to file bankruptcy. So when our product was produced and being shipped to Goodies, they filed bankruptcy. They didn't give us our product back. They didn't pay us, and we were stuck holding the bill with no product on the biggest deal we have ever done. So basically, we lost our asses. And we're all still kind of jaded about that, but I still talk to my team members that are living. Unfortunately, we had one pass, but we're still all friends. Well, I'm still friends with him, and one day I'll get the team back together because there are personalities that are still struggling to process what happened. But anyway, we had that in 2008 happen to us, and then like crazy oil prices and all that were happening. So the NHRA guys were freaking out, and they weren't ordering merchandise. So that illustration stopped. That illustration request stopped like drastically. Everything just stopped drastically. It was crazy. So fortunately, though, we were back home in Tallahassee, and it was crazy because we just sold our house up in Atlanta right before the recession. So it was like a week before the recession, and it was, at least we were very thankful for that. because honestly, I don't know if we could have afforded. Yeah, no, we couldn't afford it because even in Tallahassee, it got so bad. We were like having to do food stamps, and there we had two young boys, and then and in our house, and yeah, we had to apply for food stamps there for a quick minute. Medicaid, we had to do all of that. So we went from doing really well into nothing really fast. And that's even with all these different eggs and all these different baskets. So it was frustrating. And it was a struggle there for a minute because I was just so focused on headwear for a while that I figured, all right, that's what I'm going to do to get myself out of it. So I started working with companies down by the coast and creating headwear and designing stuff for tourism and things like that. And it just wasn't making enough money still, because it's like when I design headwear and work with factories overseas, it's a slow process. And it takes a good 2 months, 2 months or 3 months that you see the revenue. And I needed revenue coming in a lot quicker. So one of my friends at the time, that's smarter than me, most people are smarter than me, but one of my friends at the time was like, Matt, you illustrate all the time. Why aren't you illustrating? Why aren't you offering those services more? And I looked at him and I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. I need to switch gears again and focus on illustration skills and stuff. And that led me to just looking around the internet and just approaching, people that I wouldn't have approached. And that got me into making relationships with guys that work with factories, with other merchandisers that work with factories. And that got my name out there. And now, the next thing you know, build my career back up. And by 2000, 2008 was 2009 was and then by 2010 was starting to go on the curve up. 2011 was great. And then because I started working with Orange County Choppers. They were really cool to work with. Love drawing eagles, love drawing feathers. No, I don't like drawing feathers, but I love drawing eagles. And I was doing stuff for Bass Pro Shops. Just t-shirts again, illustrating t-shirts. And then what else? Then I started illustrating for tourism stuff, and I was getting the bills paid and more. So I was on the right track. And I was thankful. I'm always thankful for that advice from that friend at that time. So it's always good to listen, especially when you're in the gutter. Listen, look for the shiny objects, and you'll work yourself through it. You'll get through it, especially if you don't give up. But so I was on my way back up, solely freelance, solely contract, because I didn't want to work again. I want all my eggs in different baskets. Again, I didn't want to work for one group. But then an opportunity came. One of my merchandising friends wanted me to come up to Atlanta for a meeting for a startup company. And he said it's a good opportunity. These guys know their stuff. They're all ex-Under Armour guys. And they broke off from Under Armour to start their own apparel brand. So it sounded interesting to me. So I drove up, and next thing you know is actually, take that back. I didn't drive up. I got introduced by phone and email to the president of this new company. And the first thing we had good conversation. We had good emails. He had me, he tested me on some art via email. He liked what he saw. He liked what I was doing. So the first time I ever met him was down in the Keys. He flew me and himself down to the Keys to meet one of his new potential clients, which was the Jose Jueve Foundation, and meet Chrissy, who is an awesome individual. And that was really the first time I met, his name's Ben, at the at the airport in the Keys. And it was a pretty amazing first meet, pretty amazing time down there. We went fishing. We talked to Chrissy. We got color schemes going, color theory going. Started working on some designs right away. And it was cool. It was really cool. So I was like, yeah, I need to work with this group. This is going to be good. It's going to be really good. But I got to run. It's coming along. It's coming along good. Can't wait to show you guys this piece when it's finished. But this needs to be a short clip. So I'll start the next clip in a minute. All right. Here's my little remote. All right. So I left off my story. We were in the Keys. I met one of my clients for the first time down the Keys. We went and basically sealed the deal with the Jose Hueve Foundation on their apparel line. So after that, then I went to Atlanta, I guess a few weeks later. And then I met more of the team and we worked together with the merchandiser that is still involved to this day with that brand. And that brand was, at the moment, it was a startup. And that's, basically I was there a year before the brand started up. And the brand was Hook Performance Fishing, which is a huge brand today if you're into fishing. And it was great. It was a great run. It was a great time. I didn't like the way it ended, but I guess no ending is a great ending, right? But ended up getting basically bought out. And then I guess how big corporate works is when you get bought out, then they want to put their spin on the brand, and they basically let everybody that was there formerly, they let everybody go. So after, I guess, let's say 5 or 6 years. I think it's 6 years because I was there before a year. But anyway, after 5-6 years of 12 to 16 hour days every day making that brand, and like we put such a large footprint with such a skeleton crew with that brand on the outdoor industry, that I'm very proud of that of our entire team. Definitely wasn't just me, but it was I played a part because I sure didn't sleep. But honestly, I still don't sleep. Here I am, 11 o'clock at night or whatever time it is, gluing wood pieces, this is a wood mosaic.